royalti ke Bu Messi Sani. Okay. May I begin this presentation? Pak Iqlil?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Pak Iqlil, would you like to mute your cam for a while? Okay. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Well, right now we are going to discuss more about processing and analyzing data electronically. And under this topic, this is the outline. Okay, this is the outline. Sorry. Okay, this is the outline. Coding and categorizing will be presented by me, and then Pak Iqlil will practice analyzing data using Nvivo. This is one of computer-assisted qualitative data analysis software. And Bu Dian Misesani will interpret or describe the output of computer-assisted qualitative data analysis software into a research paper. Right now, let's begin with coding and categorizing. The meaning of coding. A code is a word, phrase, or sentence that represents aspects of a data or captures the essence of features of a data. Assigning labels to a data, it can be interview transcripts, and can be documents, artifacts, or field notes. This is the differences between manual and electronic coding. Manual coding, the tools of manual coding, we can use paper, pencil, pen, note card, hard copy of the transcripts or documents, artifact to be coded. While electronic coding, the tools is a computer-assisted or aided qualitative data analysis software such as Nvivo, Atlas TI, Maxda, and so on and so forth. Usability, easy to use, especially when data is not a lot, and electronic coding need to familiarize with the functions of the software before starting analyzing data. When to use manual coding? Manual coding, we use manual coding when small data and recommendation at the initial stage of data analysis, when familiarizing ourselves with the data. And for electronic coding, we usually use electronic coding when the data is large, including videos and audios that have not been transcribed. Organization of manual coding, really time consuming, and electronic coding, easy to organize codes, run code frequencies, explore the relationship between codes, and do memoing. This is the examples of computer-assisted qualitative data analysis software. There are many computer-assisted qualitative data analysis software. There are many software actually, but commonly the popular one is Atlas TI, and also Nvivo and Maxda. Okay. Coding strategies. There are two cycles of coding strategies. First cycle coding and then second cycle coding methods. There are many strategies here. We may use attribute coding, descriptive coding, emotion coding, evaluation coding, in vivo coding, magnitude coding, narrative coding, process coding, values coding, and theming data. This only preference, yeah, we may choose one or more based on the qualitative based on the research question, and also based on the type of data. And then we may choose the appropriate one. And after first cycle coding, categorizing codes and generating themes based on relationship between codes, code frequencies, underlying meaning across codes. And the second cycle coding methods, we may use parent coding, focus coding, axial coding, theoretical coding. It's also preference. It's also we use particular coding for particular data, and also based on research questions. Choosing appropriate coding methods. Types of qualitative research question. Types of research question, there are two main types, explanatory and confirmatory. The research question for explanatory, this is for qualitative study, open-ended in nature. And for a quantitative study, confirmation research question, closed-ended in nature. But we will focus on qualitative study. There are two main types for explanatory research question, open-ended in nature: ontological and epistemological. Research question for ontological, capturing participants' realities, and epistemological research question, understanding a phenomenon. Choosing coding method based on research question. Types of research question. Ontological research question, related to studying the nature of participants' realities. We try to capture participants' realities here. The example questions can be, what is the nature of blah, blah, blah? What are the lived experience of da-da-da, da-da-da? What is it like being blah, 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 and so on and so forth. This is question types of ontological research question. The coding method, the preference here, the coding method for cycle coding, we may use attribute coding, emotion, in vivo coding, narrative coding, process coding, values coding, and theming. While epistemological research question related to knowing and understanding of phenomenon of interest. The goal here is to understand phenomenon. The type of questions can be, how does blah, 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 what does it mean to be, what factors influence, and so on and so forth. And the coding methods for epistemological research question like this can be descriptive, evaluation method, evaluation coding, magnitude coding, narrative coding, process coding, and theming. Okay. First cycle coding methods related to ontological research question, capturing participants' realities. For example, attribute coding. The functions is to code features of research sites, participants, and materials being studied. The examples, it can be it can code participants, age, gender, and educational level. This is attribute for the participants. The participants have age, this, gender, and educational level. While emotion coding, we try to code participants' sentiments or feelings or reactions, excitement, or sensations from participants' viewpoint, from researchers' standpoint. It can be hopelessness, anxiety, pessimism, denial. We can code such kind of feeling. For in vivo coding, participants' own words. For in vivo coding, we can pick particular participants' words like never again, payback time, no negotiation, and so on and so forth can be coded with such kind of participants' words. Yeah. Okay, for value coding, coding participants' value attitudes, for example, we can code with values v, attitudes with A, for example, and belief with B, for example. For V, for example, education, A, sense of uncertainty, B, existence of discrimination, for example, like that. That's the way how to code a value coding. And narrative coding, it tries to code participant stories, including their interaction with others and retelling them. They can be structured as follow: abstract, orientation, yeah, abstract, summary, orientation, characters, setting, and time, and complicating action, response, reaction, evaluation, essence, and results, consequence, and coda, lessons, and conclusion. This is a type of narrative coding. First cycle coding methods related to epistemological research question, understanding phenomenon. Descriptive coding for epistemological research question. For example, we can code, for example, churches, schools, playing ground, banks, public library, and recycle bins, and so on and so forth. The function is to assign topics to aspects of the data, and normally nouns, and also for social environment. And evaluation coding. The function is to assign judgments. For example, foreign to them with negative, not part of program planning, it's also negative. Sense of independence, positive. Positive, increase of family income, and negative, increase in domestic violence, and so on and so forth. Magnitude coding, assigning intensity, frequency, direction, presence, or evaluation content to codes. For example, high, moderate, and low income, present and absent motivation, more or less determined, and so on and so forth. Process coding, also called action coding, coding observable activity and or conceptual action. For example, the process coding: walking, cooking breakfast, checking emails, making calls, enjoying music, reflecting, and so on and so forth. This is the example of process coding. There is a process there. Theming data, using phrases or sentences to describe or capture the meaning of an aspect of a data. The example: ability to take care of their children. This is a kind of phrase. Ability to pay bills, ability to have time with their children. This is the way how to code based on theming data methods. After cycle coding, after we do for cycle coding, we should categorize codes and generating themes based on first relationship between codes. Reference, it can be reference, and the question maybe, are a group of codes making reference to a specific concept or occurrence? How does a group of codes happen or sequence? Does one code or a group of codes come before or after the other? And for the second categorization here, code frequencies. Frequency, how many times does a specific code assign to parts of the data? Three, or on the third one, underlying meaning across codes. For example, the essence: is there an underlying meaning among a group of codes? Okay, this is typical process of categorizing codes and generating themes after we do for cycle coding. This is second cycle coding methods. Coding methods, pattern coding, the function is to examine initial codes and to identify trends, patterns, relationships, or assign labels. They could be categorized or themes. Focused coding, the function is to identify the most frequent or significant initial codes, looking for code frequencies, code relationships, and central codes, building categories around them, and also to build categories around them. Axial coding, the function is to identify core category or core phenomenon and related categories, and also to examine the features and dimensions of categories. For theoretical or selective coding, the function is to connect the core category and related categories to create a storyline. And the narrative, proposition, or theory should explain a phenomenon. I think that's all for my presentation about coding and categorizing. And now it's time for Pak Iklil to do or to process data using computer-assisted qualitative data analysis software. In this context, we use Nvivo as an example. Please, Pak Iklil, time is yours.
You. Okay, move, Pak. Okay, what is Nvivo here? It's kind of a tool here, in my opinion, and a program that helps the researcher as the main instrument of qualitative research to analyze qualitative data. It's not enough just input and go search, because we must read, categorize, and have a good interpretation to get valid result. And this process must be repeated again and again to get rigorous data and analysis and visualization. So the function of this program was a tool to help us to analyze the data. Okay, next, Pak. Pak, next. Pak Irfan. Okay. So what is the abilities and the function of Nvivo? First, analyzing text, including message data, field note, interview, survey, audio, video, journal, books, and novels, and so on. And in the detail will be practiced after this slide. So the second one, Nvivo is able to read many and their words, Excel, PDF, Twitter, Facebook, Zotero, and etc. And helps the researcher to understand the data, because of we are the main instrument here, as the main instrument was the researcher itself. So it's just a tool to understand the data and visualize the data, exploring the meaning, relationship, and differentiation between concept or cases. And the last one, the result of those exploring activity could be easily understood by visualization, word tree, what world cloud, what tree map, hierarchy chart, and so on. So here, next, Pak. There are 5 steps. The first one, input the data. Second one, coding. The third, exploration. The fourth was visualization, and the result will be delivered by Bumi Sesani. But before that, we will move to the first step, inputting the data. Allow me to share the screen. Okay, here. Okay, here. Actually, this is my Nvivo project before. But if you want to start the Nvivo, you just click in file and have a new project in here. Okay, first, for inputting the data, there are two main menus there. The feature from Nvivo here, like Explorer. Here there are import, home, and second one, File Explorer here, like data, code, and cases. Those to use this program, we can directly choose import here in the menu in beside home here. There is import, and to use this program, you can directly choose import. And for the project here, for teamworks, yeah, we can choose types of data in Excel, in TXT, SurveyMonkey, and so on here. Zotero, even Mendeley, memos here, and so on. And the left side here, there are menu project to import Nvivo file, or we can use it for teamwork project. In research, we can insert data from another team into our project Nvivo here, the project. But today we will only use PDF or doc or document or picture, maybe audio for practice. So we choose file, and we can directly choose the type of program that acceptable in Nvivo. For example, like this. Here, this is the file, and here there is a lot of types: PDF, audio, video files, image file, Outlook, and so on. For example, we use here let's applied linguistics here. We just say open here, and the data will import into our Nvivo. Because of the file was too big, I think there is a time limit to the for processing. Okay, remember ya, after we choose the data, don't forget to click import, and document properties will appear, and just click OK. And to classify the data, we can choose the menu on the left side, and just right click on the icon file, and we choose new folder, and so on. To read the data here after the working process, we can double click to the file, and click to edit to edit the file. Of course, it's more simple if we if the data was in form of Word. For example, in PDF, we should change the PDF form into document first. PDF to Word, what I mean. And if we have ability to make it into the document, of course, we can directly modify our data by marking our or adding some notes and color to sign that this is the important one. Okay, here, because of the file was so big, and we have already got zoom here, so sorry if the process will take a while. So just click OK here, and the data will be going to this one, to the Routledge in applied linguistics, for example, like this. Because of this data too much, so many data, and not arrange, not very good. So we have a file classification here to classify the data in the right places. For example, I have already make an article, folder, interview, novel, picture, or audio. To make this one, just right click and new classification here, and we make another classification. For example, interview. For example, interview. Just click OK, and interview. The classifier was interview one. Maybe there is a two interview here. So we move another interview. Okay. The folder interview will appear in your desktop in your Nvivo. Okay. If you wanna click or you wanna know the detail information, just double click. For example, in novel, for example, we just double click the novels. I have already changed into Word, so don't worry. And the data will appear like this in the right side of the first. This is the novels, and this is the text. It will automatically save the source of file. Okay. Okay, we move to step 2. Yeah. If we have already mastered how to input the data, there is a novel, there is a picture here. I got the picture. And the second step was how to code. Yeah. How to code. How do we do a coding? If we want to have another menu in coding, there are two areas in Nvivo. The first is nodes. Yeah, here. There's a data for the last explanation. There is a code, and there's a node here, and there is a cases here. The function of nodes was to code the semantic point of view, as Mr. Irfan said before, and the second one was cases here, and the function was classify the level of analysis or types of informant and respondent. Just to remind you that in Miles and Haberman in Saltana, maybe 2014, there are two ways of coding: the first cycle and second cycle, just like Mr. Irfan. And here I want to try to use the theoretical construct as our data. Okay. If we have already mastered the idea, just open the data first like this. The novel, we will open it, and don't forget to click to edit here. Click to edit and pull the sentence and click notes. Yeah. If we want, for example, if we want to get the data, or we don't know. We have already read the data, but we have a point that in this novel there is an apocalypse point of view. For example, drought. So if we want to search this word drought, if just Control F like in Word and type drought here and find next. Here we are. We got the data drought here. Just pull, yeah. Just pull the data here and understand the meaning. Is it drought belongs to apocalypse or not? If we have already pulled the words, yeah, or sentences, we just click notes here. Click notes in coding, and we put it into apocalypse. I have already mentioned apocalypse here in here. So wait a minute, I will go in large way here. Apocalypse. Just click or right click here. We can right click and code or Control F2. and if it belongs to apocalypse or what. Or this is kinds of parent and child nodes. Yeah, the larger one, the bigger one, the general one was called parents nodes, and the specific one called child nodes. For example, in here, or we have a new code that we have never been repeated before about drought, which is new code. But if it belongs to drought in apocalypse, that's okay here. And the data will be go to the code at drought nodes apocalypse. There are changes in numbers belongs to number 2 here. By theming the data based on the theoretical framework, or theoretical construct, the description for explicit meaning in detail will be appear. So there are 2 files here to read this data. There are 2 files that belongs to drought, and in 2 reference, there are another reference. So it means that the data has been coded. And how about the audio when we are talking about the data for informant? Just open the data first, the raw data about interview here. I have already mentioned. But here, if we have an already translated into text, it will be the same with the novels here, just coding, blocking, and add to the notes. But if you have no idea how to translate the audio or video to Word, just edit it manually. For example, like this. If we have a video here, I have already video. Just double click to edit this data. Wait a minute. The data will appear like this. There are 4 minutes maybe here, and don't forget to click to edit. And we can play or stop the data to understand more and more, to reach to understand specifically what the informant talking about. Here, for example, okay, we have the, for example, if we have the data, just stop and click manually here, block it like in the text, and we can directly mention the detailed information or specific description about the interview that has been blocked here. For example, eating meat means manliness, but it causes imbalance for animal and our body, for example, like that. That's the first coding, and just click notes. Just click notes, and these cases can be coding. Just the step just the same with the previous one. For example, here there are nothing tells about meat, so we have new code here, and naming the new code with, for example, meat here, just and click OK, and the meat will appear in here in notes. Just repeat it again and again until our data was full of meaning. And after we we have already got all those data, the coding will finish. For example, like this. This is the end of the second process, codes. We move to another process, exploration. What is exploration? Actually, exploration is a kind of a process in Nvivo, and we try to explore and understand our data deeply. Yeah. Let me close this data first. Exploring the data will understand our data deeply and specifically. Let's wait. There are 5 types of data or main in exploring data in Nvivo here. Wait, just wait. What I remember, there are 5. There are text search here, word frequency, word cloud. Where is word cloud? There is word cloud, but I think it's something missing here. Okay, metric coding here and cross-tab. We'll move to the first one, the most common one, text search. Text search was the same as search engine, yeah, in Google or maybe Microsoft Words or Office or PDF to search the word phrases or combination of words from data that has been coded before, but it can also help us to code the data first. Okay, let's start. We go to the ribbon explore like this. There is home, import, create, and explore here, and click text search. Search in there are 3 options. Yeah, there are 3 options here. Actually, there are 3 options. Wait. File external, selected item, selected folder. If we want to search all the data, we choose files external. We choose all the data that we have got in our files here. But I recommended we use the second one and select item first for this is for beginner. To code or notes the file in internet and etc. For example, like this. Just select item. If we want to select the file, just select file. Don't select all the data here because your computer will be so low. So like here, there, I just select the first file here and click OK. And what we want to search, for example, we want to search drought, for example, yeah. We drought here, and the first drought that belongs to apocalypse that I have already mentioned before, and click run query. Okay, this is the process of searching. Let's wait. Okay, here the result. There is a summary. There are references that belongs to Dr. Elizabeth interview, and there is a picture here. There are symbol picture and PDF and novels and others. And the novel itself by Good Earth by Pro Expert here. Means that only reference and coverage 0.02. So this is all the data that have been by Nvivo about the word drought. To make it specific, we just click reference here. This reference function was to understand more about the data. Is it belongs to drought or not? For example, belongs to apocalypse as a parent node or not? For example, like this. But this is too small to understand the context. We just if we want to make it larger, just block the data here. Block the data, right click, and coding context. We have a narrow one, so it's too small. We can go for, but this is very dangerous because of we don't know the data. It's large or not. So I recommend it. We choose custom here and just mention 25 words maybe, and click OK. And the data will appear like this. So we have understand better. But how about the other word or coding here? To understand it, we just can automatically go all the data in large way. Just Control All or Control A and right click, and that's the same process as before. We have a custom here. Wait. We can enter those data to nodes. No, what the problem here? Sorry. For example, or Control All or manually like this, we pull the data here and click coding context, custom, and okay, 25 for example. The data will appear more specifically. Okay, this is the result for reference. Okay, like this. Okay, this is the file from article, post-carbon curriculum, and other reference that coverage in detail. This is not in novels. To make it to make this quotation into our notes. That's the same with coding. Just block and click, right click, sorry, and code, for example, and we can move it into notes. That's reference. We move to another one here. There are text PDF. That's the same with the original data. But here, there is a word tree, the most interesting one. In word tree, it's kind of feature to know and to understand or classify the text which is appear frequently before and after the data. For example, we want to move to another searching area, for example, not fraud, but the definition of eco-criticism, for example, criticism. That's the same like before. We choose selected item, we choose file and click OK and run query. There is data from world tree. Okay, just a moment. Okay, here the criticism, the word criticism that we it will help us to understand more about criticism, yeah, about eco-criticism, and to make it larger, or this is too small to be understood. So we move to here the context word. We choose, for example, 15 words, like this here. Okay, data will appear like this. This is a criticism, and it will arrange alphabetically. The left side of criticism means that this is the definition or the word before criticism, and after the side will after the word criticism, and it arranged alphabetically from the A, B, C, D, and the definition will be understood manually by ourselves as the main researcher. For example, here, if we want to know about ecofeminists, there are brands from Greg Gerard and D. Murphy, and so on here. Okay, that's the function just to understand, just to know more about the data that we have been taken. If you want to code this data, just double click, that's the same as previous, and we will move into references to make a new code and drag it. Right click and export to save JPEG if you want to save this view, and or PDF, and we can understand faster. But remember, we should be responsible for rigorous data by reading lots. Yeah. How about word frequency or word cloud? Here, this is the end. Yeah. How about the word frequency? We back to another menu here. I will close this data. Just the same with the previous one. We just before we go to word cloud and word frequency, just the same with word tree. Word cloud was the visualization, the definition. The definition of word cloud was the visualization of and Nvivo. Just the same with the text search, but we search all the data and we focus on minimum length to classify number of words. For example, like this. But I still can't find the word frequency here. Word text. Oh, word frequency here. Word frequency. Let's click the word frequency, and here the display word that's done do not change anything in here, and we just change this one minimum length. There are three means that 3 was the minimum length of word that we want to search in our text. We just change it into 5, for example, and selected item that we want to search. For example, the item in files, maybe. Yeah, in files. Just click OK, or in code in the notes that have been coded by ourselves in notes. OK, it's up to you. Just click OK, and that's the same with the previous process, run query. And of course, it takes lots of effort to do that. Okay, here are the summary. There are so many words that appear in our data. There are water, natural tree, steel, human ground, and other. This is the summary of our notes data. Yeah. If we want to move the receh-receh one, yeah, so just double click and remove. Okay. We can also change the color and we can save it. If we want to cancel word cloud, yeah, this is the sum of the word cloud. It will be word free, more. For example, like this. Wait. The bigger one means that the data appear more frequent than others. But if we found another, if we want, for example, like this thing, this is not unwanted. We want just double click here. Wait. Sorry, there is time to understand to process the Nvivo. Okay, in this famous essay, I think this is not unwanted word that we want to search. Just remove it. Just right click and add to stop word list and okay, and the process Nvivo will delete those things or parts maybe, or since it's not wanted word that we want to go deeper, we just remove it. Okay, processing the data. So the word frequencies here, it's just kind of guidance to understand our data or how important our data was. So the more why the data natural appear frequently. Why? And we have to understand that and double click and go to the references and block the references becomes bigger or broader. So and after that run. If the word thing still appear, run query. The data was not deleted yet. Okay, just like that. Okay, the thing was not there. We can change the word, the color, sorry, the color here. And if we have not running, if we run the application for Nvivo only, not with Zoom like this, it will go smoothly. But if we have another project, for example, as we run Zoom or SPSS or Photoshop, it will be go down like this. Okay, that's the word tree. And of course, we can search with exact match here and with STEAM words like with preposition like here, that communicate. That's the word cloud. Okay, we move to another one. Exploring was the process of understanding our data with reflection and contemplation, of course. So creating one of word cloud as code, we just click here. Same with previous one, the tree map, to understand the data more specific. Okay, that's the end of our third step, explore, to another step, visualization. here in home, there is import, create, explore here, and share, yeah, and word frequency query. We move to here, explore, and we move to a project map here in project map to visualize our data that have been already coded before. Just click, and we move. We naming our data, for example, crowd, and click OK. Okay, so now click add project item. Okay. Add project items. What item that we want to get a project, for example, in our notes and cases, for example, and click OK. And this is the data that have already been coded. Don't forget to uncheck connector label associated item that has been released, if there any relation with another data that we found, relation with other coding. So just show associated item here. Okay, there are 7 items here that belongs to this coding. Just drag those 17 items into project map like this, and data will appear like this. Okay, so complicated. We can simplify those things there with choosing menu here, for example, like this, or here. This is more, we can simplify, and we can move it like this. For example, you can you see that? Too small. There are pollution here that have been put in. There is apocalypse, there is a drought, there is and there's a definition of eco-criticism, and so on. This is to visualize that our data was our data that have been coded has a relation with another selected items, just like this. Okay, that's all for my presentation, Pak Irfan. Thank you very much. Too much time to do that, but I'm so sorry if there is another mistake, because of this is my own personal exploring Nvivo. If there is another method or way to make it simple, I think that's very good. That's my own opinion. Thank you very much. May I stop share?
Okay, Pak Akil, thank you so much for the presentation. And we move to Bu Dian. I will share screen again for next slide. Time is yours, Bu Dian.
Thank you, Pak Irfan and Pak Idwin. Now it is time for me to present how to interpret and describe the output of Categorizing into research paper. First, excuse me for a while. Okay. Here I will present 5 types of qualitative research that use Nvivo in interpret, analyze, interpret, and describe the data. First, okay, this slide. First, it is a case study entitled Student Teachers Narrative on Learning, a case study of a course on older people media literacy education. Here, referring to the research question, it is considered as ontological, yeah? As has been explained by Pak Irfan previously, we can see that this is the research question, the first one. What kind of experiences were identifiable in the students' teacher narratives? So here in this research, it is the ontological research. It is typically ontological research question. And next, enter please, Pak. Would you enter that? Nah, this is what I meant here. We can take a look at this once again. What kind of experiences were identifiable in the students' teachers' narrative? And how did the students, teachers describe their learning? So the third, what kind of meaning did the students, teachers attribute to course pedagogy? So referring to these questions, the next slide present. The next slide, Pak. Okay, no, okay. Here's the next slide presents the phases that the researcher took in analyzing the data. In the thematic analysis of narrative, the researcher is clearly explained or right that that he or she used Nvivo version 12. And in the first phase here, the students' texts were read through several times. So it is a kind of narrative analysis, because the writing production from the students were analyzed. And the second phase is the analysis consisted of the coding of the data. So this process coding, we can imagine that Pak Iflis has presented how to process the coding of the data. Next slide will show how the researcher coding the data. But first, next is the third slide, the third phase. Okay. The third slide here shows that the themes that came from the coding process here was actually referring to the research question has been provided or has been proposed by the researcher. So the primary themes here is course experiences, learning description, course pedagogy, and feedback. As we can see that the first questions refers to what kind of experiences. So it is related to the process coding. Yeah. And then learning description also related to the process. Yeah. But the third one, in course pedagogy, it is the attribute, yeah? The attribute of course pedagogy, such as authentic learning, blended learning, collaborative learning, and learning by design. So if we can see maybe in the Nvivo program or software, this could be the coding, this should be the child code, parent code, and child code. And when we present the data, it becomes the themes, primary themes, and subthemes. And next slide, please. The second research is a grounded theory. Grounded theory research here. The researcher also uses the Nvivo. Here, the coding. Okay. Here, let me explain first that the researcher explained that the participants completed a face-to-face interview regarding L3 learning. So this is typical of interview data, and I think it is in the form of participants' expression, opinion, like that. So the data being analyzed is it is also maybe a process or maybe a descriptive. Let's see about the result. Now, after transcribing interviews, they were deductively and inductively coded using Nvivo 11 for Windows. So the previous one using the 12 one, this is the 11 one. And the transcripts here were coded by word segment, phrase, or sentence. And IC here refers to intercultural competence. It's not quantified by or limited to a specific word count. So it is not counting a word such as the last one explained by Pak Ifril. It is not about word frequency. So after reviewing DIRDOF, after reviewing framework, the authors created the definition for each of 5 components below for coding purposes. So the 5 components here are decided by the researcher himself or herself. So once again, it is not automatically produced by the software of Nvivo. Nvivo is only a tool. So the main instrument is the researcher to decide this coding process, these components. First is attitude, second is knowledge and comprehension, skills, internal outcomes, and also external outcomes. And if we analyze once more here, if you can see the attitudes, participants demonstrate respect to other people and to their culture by being receptive to move beyond her or his comfort zone to appropriately communicate in a new languages. So this kind of analysis does not what is it? It's not done by the Nvivo, of course, but it is what is it? It is analyzed by the researcher. But in the process of coding, the researcher is aided or helped by Nvivo program to what is it? To classify or categorize the result of interview from the participants and categorize into these 5 components. So next slide, please. Next slide shows how the researcher also visualize the result of coding through Nvivo. So here, the first one is there are 2 coders here. It means or coders or raters. Yeah. So there, why they need 2 coders here? It is to what is it, to conduct a reliability of coding. So to measure the reliability of the coding, the researcher here used kappa, okay, in which the p-value is below 0.001. It means sometimes the first rater have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 coding. And the second rater has only 3 coding. But here, the 3 of them have a relationship one another. And these differences is measured by kappa, which is also provided by Nvivo. So if there was an amount of 89% of agreement, it means the coding is reliable. The coding data is reliable. Excuse me. Okay. Now, next, please, Pak. Okay. Next slide is the use of Nvivo in ethnography research. It is related to translanguaging in conjunction with language revitalization. So in the data analysis, the research here collecting the data, and all the data were coded emergently in Nvivo 10 and later in Nvivo 11. So there was a change there from Nvivo 10 to Nvivo 11. So the main themes here in this research: image emerge based upon any occurrences of note that involve language and interaction in these spaces. So the data, the coding data, what is it? It were taken from the notes. But every recorded interaction was also coded. So it means it is not only notes or written data, but also the recorded interaction. It means in the form of video. So all of the data were transcribed and also analyzed, following by the interactional sociolinguistics approach. So next, please, Pak. Next slide, please. Okay. Okay, I can find mine. So it is a community-based approach in which this is the conversation between a child and a teacher. So this is typically a type of classroom interaction with this teachers students interaction. It is the basis of sociolinguistics approach, yeah, interactional sociolinguistics approach. Here, there are students from Maori and Samoan communities or race in the Wellington region in the New Zealand. So during the from 2017 and 2019, the researcher observed and conducted an ethnography research here, and the result shows. Okay, let me make it bigger. Okay. He aha te ahua o te huarere kiwaho. It means what's the weather like outside? Titiro kiwaho. It's our time to speak so me wangau hu tato. It means that the student, the teacher use Samoan language in order to make the child or the students understand. Okay, translanguaging. So here, na tewa kite korero itu tanarina. What is R's time to speak? So the child answering by raining. So if we go outside, what should we do? Okay, put your pote on your who. It means that the student also mix the code or using local language to answer the question from the teacher. And this is all about translanguage. So how is the researcher present her result? The result in this ethnography research, there was no such kinds of graphs or word count or word frequency, because this is not how the way how the research questions presented. The purpose of this study or this ethnography research was to analyze the translanguaging, which is spontaneously done by the teacher and also the students. Here, the findings show that specifically in the third finding, first is the materials, and secondly is the repetition of ideas, and the third one, 3 types of translanguaging should be used based on our findings of students' uptake in the classroom. So this finding about translanguaging for self-repetition, continuous segmental translanguaging, and also cross-speaker interactional translanguaging here, these results were processed through Nvivo program or software. So, so the presentation or the display finding in the research is not similar to that, maybe the process in Nvivo software. So it is the authority of the researcher how to present the data. All right, so the next research will be phenomenological part. Next slide, please, Pak Ivan. Okay. This is a phenomenological research related to reconceptualizing intercultural competence, a phenomenological investigation of students' intercultural experiences. So the emphasis of this research is to analyze the phenomenon rather than the participants' experiences. So it is truly a phenomenology about intercultural competence. So here the researchers explains or explicitly stated that he or she uses the Nvivo 10 software. So, and the data were coded into themes that emerge through participant voices. Yeah, participant voices, rather a predetermined theoretical framework of intercultural competence. Okay, it means that the term in Nvivo here is related to the coding methods is in the first cycle related to the Nvivo or Nvivo. It is related to the participant voices, opinions, or statements. And the emergent themes were then compared to the existing Western perspective and relevant literature. So the findings will be related to the Western perspective and other literature. Here, the finding shows that I forgot to highlight this too. This is important because after the process of coding, the process of coding in which come from the participant voices, the finding shows there are two themes, two themes that illuminate intercultural competence. First is acquiring cultural understanding, and secondly is respecting cultural differences. So these are two phenomena happened in Malaysia, in Malaysia, which the majority is Nigerians, Indonesian, Jordanian, Palestinian, and Chinese. So there's these 5 races are gathered in Malaysia. So okay. Oh, okay. I provide the explanation. Please move to the next slide, Pak, related to phenomenological. Next slide. Next slide. Pak Irfan. Okay, this one. So this is the first finding about acquiring cultural understanding. The researcher categorized the participants' voice here into acquiring cultural understanding. What is it like? First, when I start my master's degree, I actually work together with others. At first, we have to really understand the culture first and the way of working to mount the thing together. So it takes time. Yeah. It is clearly understood that there is a cultural acquisition here, demonstrated or stated by Malaysian participants. Yeah. But interestingly, participants viewed cultural understanding as a mutual process that necessitates both sides to learn from each other about their differences. So it is mutual process. It doesn't, it does not make the students from other races become argue one another, but rather there is a mutual process there. Okay, next slide, please, Pak. It is nearly the end of the research, I guess. After acquiring cultural understanding, the next slide is related to respecting cultural differences. So when we understand other cultures, so I think the respect feeling will also appear. It is proof like the students of Palestinian here, Palestine, says that you have to respect other culture. It is clearly said. Accept the people whatever their religion or culture, because they're human. You can open and attract other people to interact with you. Respect the culture, religion, custom, everything. With respect, you can change them. So here, how many, if we count, if the purpose is only count word frequency, maybe this data will provide you the information. Respect and respect and respect 3 times. But it is not the case of counting the word, but how the how the researcher code or categorize this statement, this voice of Palestinian into the respecting cultural differences. So this will be the code, and this will be the data which includes into this code. Yes. So I think we should go to the next research. Okay. It is about content analysis, Pak Irfan. The last one. Okay, the content analysis, it is, well, it is not related to language actually, but it is related to a news related to COVID-19 pandemic, which bring the social and economic issue. So it is the content of the mass media. Okay, next slide, please. So here I highlighted the thing about the paragraph containing Nvivo. The researcher used Nvivo 12 to analyze and determine the number of online social and economic issues related to COVID-19. Nvivo accommodates a content analysis approach. Nvivo is a data analysis software that can import text, audios, videos, images, news articles, okay, spreadsheets, online surveys, web content, and social media from various sources. Yeah. So if we remember how Pak Hitler has demonstrated how to import all these sources, yeah, all of these sources into Nvivo programs, yeah, the step should be like that. And then here, oh yeah, here is the stages actually. First, importing text document into Nvivo and using transcription. Secondly, organizing codes and coding. Here's the coding process here that we have just learned from Python. Now, the third one is exploring queries, applying code and matrix queries, and illustrating with visualization. It is how the researcher would like to visualize the result of coding process through Nvivo. But firstly here, the researcher, present the themes in from Antara News here, the themes in the form of table. And here the priority goes or the most words appeared is regulation in on social issues, yeah, on social issues. Next slide, Pak. Oh, next slide, Pak. Okay, this one I have explained this one. So this is the table. Next one, please. Okay. Related to the above table, the researcher also present the graph here. The graph here, the left one, the very left one, it is regulation. Okay, it is the frequent word stated in Antara News related to social issues. Well, of course, the researcher should make two cases, yeah, cases from social issues and also economic issues, and then drag this word or categorize this word into social and also into whether is it social or economic one. So this word cloud has also explained by Pahitlir previously. So here appeared the most frequent word is regulation, followed by charity, social funds, humanities, and infrastructure. It is, but it is not, actually, it is only visualized how the coding is. The explanation or the analysis of the result here should be explored further or explained further by the researcher. What is it in the regulation? What kind of a regulation is that related to the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic? So there are more explanations on this. And related to the economic issues here, okay, here's the most frequent word, exchange rates. Well, of course, if the phenomena of COVID-19 pandemic influence the exchange rates, we all know that. So there is the most issues, the economic issues. And there is similarly, this is only represent that the frequent words is exchange rate, and here also. And if we analyze, this is the most frequent word, and to compare with other words surrounding the exchange rate, it is very it is the discrepancy is high. because this is very big. Maybe the font is 20 here, and the font size is 20, but this is only maybe 12 or 13 size font, the font size. It means that this is the most frequent phrase that used in the social media. Okay, the discrepancy is very high. Well, I feel by fun, I think that is all our presentations. Thank you so much for your collaboration here. We can collaborate together. That is all from me. Pak Phil, Pak Irwan, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Bu.
Yeah.
Thank you for the collaboration. I think that's all for the presentation. Okay, see you.